I mean, 2 hours in the shower is just crazy.
2 hours
Yeah,
in the shower?
she was in there from 4 a.m. and it was like 6.
Is it crazy?
Yeah.
Probably not. He said she was in there for hours, not
Mm-hmm.
2 hours.
She
You took a
mostly.
2 hour shower before?
No,
I did.
I don't have anything to do. Like maybe like an hour. Yeah. Never. Like 2 hours is kind of crazy.
So you don't even know how it gets easier. Or like taking a bath for 2 hours. Well, I haven't took a shower, got a bath yet for 2 hours.
Top 10 street ball moments on B-ball ball.
No, Keith, it's a bucket, bro. You yeah, go ahead. No, we're not doing that.
You used to play street ball?
It's just basketball.
On my life, he did, nigga.
This shit is ass.
You should watch like a case, like a crime case. Like something to do with the police.
Wow,
Why?
it's a lot of time.
What do you mean? You got time. You're not doing nothing on the stream.
You don't know me.
Okay. Mm. Damn, how are we almost out of topics? Like, what are we doing?
What do I even search for court cases?
Put crime cases. Crime.
Crime cases. Six most disturbing crime. That's 3 hours. The murder of Brianna Rosen. What?
Brianna.
Five unsolved. Five unsolved. Cops discovering evil mother's house of horrors. All right. Let's see this.
Investigators are back at the restaurant again. They'd searched this area up and down before. They felt like they'd seen everything there was to see. But now, their eyes are set on the dumpster. It's December of 2018, and a 17-year-old girl just went missing, Brianna Rusle. She disappeared just feet from her home, and now police have the unenviable task of tracking her down. Unfortunately,
Was it
all
raining?
their efforts up to this point led them here, to the dumpster. So without hesitation, one detective makes the move. He creeps towards the container and opens the lid. Welcome to
No,
True
I
Crime
wouldn't.
Stories. If you're new here, I'm your host, Ty
I would
Knotts,
be
and I post
dead.
new true crime documentaries every single week. We don't use a bunch of AI garbage or anything like that. We focus on just a
I just want a
softball
fucking
fifth
t-shirt.
with all of my latest cases. Brianna Rusle was born on November 5th of 2001 in Mishawaka, Indiana. She was introduced to softball
That
at
was
the
for
age of
the
just
eye.
5, and from then on, it was pretty much history. Brianna loved
Like the thing
everything
about you
sports
learning.
related, so much so that she wanted to study athletic training in college. But her real passion was always softball. At the time of the case, 17-year-old Brianna was a junior at Mishawaka High School, and she enrolled in cheerleading in her freshman and sophomore years. It was also the manager of the school football and softball teams. It's clear to see this girl was busy, but she was also driven, dedicated, and passionate. Brianna's family was Christian, and her favorite holiday was naturally Christmas. But outside of school and events, she spent most of her time with her family and her friends, but not one to slack off, she even used a lot of this downtime to help out with the local community events and festivals and things like that. Brianna just didn't know when to quit. She was defined as ambitious, athletic, and hardworking, and she had a warm and kind personality, and she was just a wonderful person to be around from the sounds of it. If anyone in the community wanted something done, they knew that they could count on Brianna. She was the very definition of a pillar of the local community, even at the young age of just 17. The most recent event she'd been working on was the Mishawaka High School's sports banquet. She was in charge of getting things scheduled and getting invitations mailed out. In fact, she was waiting on the most recent batch of those invitation mailers to arrive on that fateful afternoon in December of 2018. But tragically, she'd never received those invites, much less mail them out. And that's because on that very afternoon, Brianna went missing.
Videos or talking about.
That's different, bro. That's different because that's something. Yeah, feel me? Like, you watch that nigga die, like, you sad about that. All right, boom, one thing. But we know nothing about this Brianna girl. Feel me? I don't know nothing about her. You don't know nothing about her. He's just straight glazing, bro. Feel me? What if she was on some freaky shit in her spare time and niggas had no idea? What if they lied about her being a pillar of the community just to hype up the case? You don't know that. She's from the eye. She could be creamy.
It was December 8th of 2018.
Yeah.
Michael, be quiet.
She from the eye, bro. She's from
The eye.
Indiana. She from the eye, bro, so I know she be creaming and shit.
Brianna's mom, Melissa, was approached by Brianna, who told her she needed...
Yo, you mad as shit because you get no chitlins, bro.
What's no chitlin?
Yeah, it shows. You getting spicy because you get no chitlins.
to step out
So you spicy because you get no chitlins. That's not what I said. I was talking about chitlins.
for a bit. This was about 10:30 p.m., and Brianna had her phone with her. Her mom saw Brianna walk out the door, but she didn't know that this would be the last time she would ever see her daughter again. It was getting late, so Melissa went up to bed, thinking her daughter would return home in a couple of minutes. But suddenly, Melissa woke up a little bit past midnight, at around 1 a.m., and when she went to Brianna's room to check up on her, she was stunned to a stop. She was expecting Brianna to be tucked under her sheets, sleeping soundly, but the room was empty. Brianna never made it back home. That was when fear and worry consumed Melissa, and she had a terrible feeling something wasn't right. A frantic Melissa turned the house upside down, but there was no sign of her daughter. She called up Brianna's friends in a panic and asked them if they had seen her, but they hadn't. So Melissa finally woke up everyone in the house, and the detectives were called in the early morning hours of December 9th. 17-year-old Brianna Ruslang was officially reported missing. Initially, the investigators weren't too worried about Brianna's disappearance. They thought that Brianna was going through a rebellious streak, and perhaps she just needed to spend a night somewhere else. Typical stuff when the police get involved with missing person cases involving teens. It's the same story every time. Teen goes missing, police downplay it and claim that they're just a runaway, and then lie to the family and say they have to wait 24 hours. We've all heard it 1,000 times before. But this was when Melissa dropped a huge bombshell that led the detectives to take her daughter's missing person investigation seriously. The plot twist was that 17-year-old Brianna was pregnant. And yes, you heard that right, Brianna was 6 months pregnant at the time of her disappearance. So this was now really worrisome for everyone. Was Brianna possibly in trouble? Did she need medical help? And where would she be at such an ungodly hour of the night? But also, who was the baby's father? Well, this is exactly what the police asked Melissa, and she gave a name to them. It was none other than Brianna's boyfriend, Aaron Trejo, who was 16 at the time. But their relationship isn't what you think it is. If anything, Brianna and Aaron's relationship was a secret, and it wasn't until some time ago when Brianna broke the news of her pregnancy to her mom, because, well, she wasn't able to hide it anymore. So who was this Aaron guy? Well, hang on for just a moment because we'll get back to this, but before the detectives could find this out, they needed to know why and where Brianna went so late in the evening. Well, this was when investigators were made aware of another detail. The reason Brianna had left home that night was to meet up with her boyfriend, Aaron. Now, this was odd to the investigators for a lot of reasons. First of all, the timing just didn't make sense. What could be so important that two teenagers had to discuss it with each other late at night? And why couldn't they settle this over a phone call? Secondly, the meeting place that Aaron suggested raised many red flags for the detectives and really anybody who heard of it. Meeting behind the family's house. that's just a little bit weird.
So this nigga
But anyway,
Aaron did
phone
it,
records
man?
showed that Aaron texted Brianna that they should meet up behind Brianna's house in a dark and remote alleyway. Obviously, things were not looking good to the police, and they immediately needed to get in touch with Aaron to figure out where Brianna had
No way
gone
he did
and
it,
if she
bro.
was
That's
even
way too
safe or
easy.
not.
It wasn't Aaron.
Naturally, police were highly suspicious of this Aaron guy, but nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to encounter next. In the early hours of December 9th of 2018, without wasting any time, the police brought 16-year-old Aaron Trejo into the police station for questioning. He hadn't done anything wrong, but for all the obvious reasons, they wanted to talk to him about why Brianna had simply vanished like she did. This was also when the detectives found out that when Melissa woke up at 1 a.m. and failed to find her pregnant daughter in the house, she'd called up Brianna's friends for more information. And well, one of the people that Melissa called was none other than Aaron. Melissa knew that Brianna was stepping out to meet with Aaron, so he was the first person on her list of people to call. But what Aaron told Melissa led her to become even more confused. See, Aaron told Melissa that he was at home, and even though he did ask Brianna to meet up, she never showed up. Aaron explained that he waited for a long time behind Brianna's house, but then when he knew that she wasn't coming, he decided to just go back home. Aaron also claimed that he called and texted Brianna multiple times, but she just never picked up. Aaron said that he was feeling a little bit annoyed, if he was being honest, so he just left. So first, Brianna didn't show up, and now she wasn't picking up her phone to even let him know that she wasn't coming. I mean, I'd be a little bit annoyed too. Well, when the police initially questioned Aaron about Brianna's disappearance, he basically told the officers the exact same thing that he had told Melissa. He had texted her to meet up, she never came, and after waiting and calling and texting multiple times, he just went back home. So the detectives were left confused. Well, the police decided to go to the very place Brianna was supposed to go, and it was a good place to get started. So they headed to that dark alleyway behind her home. Well, when the investigators got there, they didn't need much to know that something terrible had happened. See, Brianna was wearing a hat as well as glasses when she left home to apparently meet up with Aaron. That hat and those glasses were found almost immediately, and the eeriest detail was that both of these things were stained in red. There were also huge stains that pooled on the ground in the alleyway, and the detectives knew one thing for certain. They were now standing in a crime scene, and whatever had happened to Brianna was pretty gruesome. After being met with this terrifying and honestly unexpected scene, the detectives' hearts began to sink. And that's because as much as they didn't want to admit it, they knew that after seeing this, the chances of finding Brianna alive were pretty slim. Well, soon after this discovery, the police were led to a place about a block away, and that was when they saw a dumpster. This dumpster was behind a restaurant, and it was really close to Brianna's home. The detectives were dreading opening that dumpster, but they had to take their chances. When the officers opened the dumpster, they found a few black plastic bags, but after poking and prodding a bit, they felt something unusual. Some of the trash bags had sort of a give to them, and there was something poking out of one of those bags, and it looked like a fabric scarf of some sort. When the police honed in on the weird plastic bags and checked them, their eyes caught a terrible sight, because inside one of these bags, a young girl, possibly in her teens, was found lifeless and with multiple wounds to her body. The fabric peeking out from earlier was in fact a scarf, and it was found around the girl's neck. Someone had tried to conceal the girl's body in plastic bags, but the effort was obviously hasty. The detectives had a very bad feeling about this discovery. They knew that Brianna was missing. Her hat and glasses were found in a questionable state behind her home, but even though the puzzle pieces were falling into place, the police needed to officially identify the body. But here's the worst part. Tragically, this girl also had a swollen stomach. She was pregnant. This meant that whoever put this girl in the dumpster had not only taken her life, but her child's life as well. Soon enough, her body was sent for identification, but this was really nothing more than procedure, because taking one look at this girl, detectives knew without a doubt it was Brianna. Neither she nor her baby had survived. At this point, the police's search for Brianna had tragically come to a stop. Brianna had lost her life, and not only this, but her baby didn't make it either. And when detectives informed Brianna's family, they were beyond broken. Brianna's stepmom, Nicole, was completely dumbfounded and in shock. Nicole had known Brianna since she was 6, and now Brianna was going to be a mom, but sadly, she would never get to experience this because her life was taken from her so brutally. Brianna's family had a really hard time wrapping their heads around the entire situation. It just didn't make any sense. Brianna was home just hours ago. There's no way she was now found in a dumpster. None of this was adding up, and it felt like a weird fever dream. Brianna was supposed to be planning for college, but now her family was planning 2 funerals. All of this was wrong, but it was reality. The community was also fearful. They were concerned that this was the doing of someone malicious, and rightfully so. Now, the place where Brianna was supposed to meet Aaron wasn't the safest. It was dark, and no one knew what happened in that alleyway. But it still was everyone's hometown. They were all terrified. The community was obviously looking at the police for answers, and they wanted the perpetrator behind bars ASAP. Well, that's exactly what the investigators set out to do, because they had a suspect in mind. It wasn't a random person, though. To the police, the attack on Brianna looked very personal and rageful, and it was certainly a crime of passion. Pretty soon, the autopsy results came back, and they revealed that Brianna was attacked with a sharp weapon, but the assailant had also tried to suffocate her with that very scarf that was found around her neck. All of these signs hinted that the attacker might have been someone who knew Brianna, and luckily for the police, they already had their sights on one particular person. The police had already spoken to Aaron before, but now that Brianna's body was found and he was possibly the last person who came into contact with Brianna, it was only fitting that they dug some more and found out what really happened in that alleyway. When people got to know that Aaron Trejo was being questioned by the investigators in relation to Brianna's murder, they were left even more confused, partly because it was bizarre seeing the police question a 16-year-old for the murder of a pregnant young girl. But the other reason was that no one knew that Aaron and Brianna were even in a relationship in the first place, and they certainly didn't know that Brianna was pregnant with Aaron's child. That was because Brianna and Aaron, they were doing their best to keep their relationship a secret. See, Aaron and Brianna actually knew each other since middle school. Now, they weren't super close or anything, but they went to the same school, had a lot of the same classes, and so they were pretty familiar with one another. Basically, they saw each other, they knew each other, but it wasn't until both students were in high school and Brianna joined the football team as a manager that Aaron first really reached out to speak with her. See, Aaron loved football. His family said that if there was one thing he was passionate about, it was this sport. He also belonged to a devout Christian family, and he was defined as a calm, fun-loving guy. So after spending some time together at school, Brianna and Aaron became friends, and very quickly, much more. But there was one thing. Brianna and Aaron's families didn't know that the kids were in a relationship with each other. I'm assuming that Brianna and Aaron agreed to keep the relationship under wraps, but for whatever reason, we can't say for sure. But anyway, Brianna and Aaron's friendship escalated quickly, and the next thing you know, they were in a full-blown physical relationship. It was July of 2018 when Brianna was struck with that unexpected news. She was pregnant, and the child was Aaron's. But Brianna hid the pregnancy from Aaron. Similarly, Brianna also tried to remain quiet about the pregnancy with her family. Even though Aaron and Brianna's parents didn't know about the two, Brianna's mom, Melissa, soon caught on to what Brianna was hiding. And I mean, it was only a matter of time, right? Brianna tried very hard to keep her pregnancy a secret, but her mom eventually found out as she started to show. Now, even though Brianna was keeping the pregnancy a secret, she was on cloud nine. She was incredibly excited to be a young mother. She went to all of her doctor's appointments as scheduled, I assume with her mom, and then she soon found out she was having a baby girl. Brianna was truly over the moon. But the problem was, she couldn't hide any of it anymore. She was now very obviously showing signs of the pregnancy. It had been a solid 4 to 5 months at this point, and Aaron still didn't know that Brianna was carrying her child. So eventually, Brianna met up with Aaron and broke the news of her pregnancy. And Aaron didn't take it well. This news was a bolt out of the blue for Aaron. He didn't want to have a child. He was only 16. He didn't want to be tied down with the responsibility of caring for a child. He was angry with Brianna that she let him in on the secret too late as well, and naturally so. Now, rather than having 9 months to make preparations, he only had 2 or 3, and he was not happy about this at all. He was furious that a baby had popped up in his life at all, but it only made things worse that she was so far along, and now he had to come to terms with it so quickly. Now, what we don't know is how involved Brianna expected Aaron to be in this baby's life. Considering the two were keeping the relationship a secret, it's possible that they weren't even really that serious. Brianna may not have expected Aaron to even chip in with the baby at all, or she may have expected him to help raise the kid every step of the way. We really have no clue. But regardless, Aaron was shaken up. But he was sure he didn't want the baby, and he was annoyed with Brianna for informing him so late. After this revelation, the two went their separate ways, but little did Brianna know, Aaron was busy cooking up a plan.
So Aaron did it?
By now, with Aaron at the station talking with police, detectives finally and successfully managed to get him to open up, and he told them everything that we just went over, about the secret relationship with Brianna, the unexpected news of the pregnancy after 5 months, and how he wanted nothing to do with the kid, his own child.
Shit crazy.
Well, when Aaron laid everything out in front of the police, they were honestly left speechless. Aaron told them that he was wanting Brianna to abort the child, but obviously this far along that simply wasn't even possible. Well, the police then went on to ask him about what exactly happened after this conversation with Brianna. And what he told the investigators was absolutely harrowing. Aaron confessed that he had made up his mind. He didn't want the baby, and he was anything but pleased with Brianna. So instead of, talking to his parents and figuring out a solution to the situation, Aaron began planning a week before Brianna's disappearance. He wanted Brianna and that child gone. So he grabbed a couple of...
So, instead of having a child and fucking up your life, this nigga killed the mother of the child before the child was born, and you still fucked up your life.
Black plastic bags and a very sharp weapon from his kitchen, and now all that was left to do was lure Brianna
And
into
what's
his
the
deadly
point of
trap.
showing it if you're blurring it?
Brianna was not expecting such a negative
You can't see
reaction
shit.
from Aaron at all. She was at home, going to school, and dealing with the different changes that came with her pregnancy. She was tired, she had trouble catching up with her studies, but she was still really happy, and since it was December, she was counting down the days until her favorite holiday, Christmas. On the other hand, Aaron was confident that his brilliant plan would clear the path for him, and within a week, there'd be no baby and definitely no Brianna. So on the evening of December 8th, Aaron texted Brianna, telling her to meet up with him behind her house. When Brianna showed up, Aaron immediately started tearing into her about her pregnancy, how much he didn't want the child, and how much he wanted her to get rid of it entirely. But Brianna obviously refused every step of the way. Well, that was when Aaron saw red, and he pulled out the weapon and aimed for Brianna's chest. He attacked her again and again until she collapsed, and then he used the aforementioned scarf on her just to make sure that she didn't make it out alive. This was all so far beyond terrifying. But when you remember the fact that this was a 16-year-old boy doing this, it's something else entirely. Once Brianna stopped struggling, Aaron covered her body in plastic bags and disposed of her in a dumpster, which was just a few steps away from Brianna's home. Aaron disposed of his pregnant girlfriend's body like it was just a piece of trash, and in the process, he also took the life of his own unborn daughter. After the heinous murder, Aaron left the scene, but not before picking up the murder weapon and Brianna's phone. He dumped these two things in a nearby lake and then went home like nothing even happened. It is unbelievable that a teenager could be capable of such a heartless crime, all because he didn't want his life to change, due to decisions that he himself had made. After the detectives heard all of this, they knew that they were right to have been suspicious of Aaron. Aaron then proceeded to tell the investigators that, quote, "I took action. I took her life." When the detectives asked about the choice of the murder weapon, Aaron explained that he made the choice strategically because he wanted Brianna to die faster. Do I need to remind you again that Aaron is only 16? At the end of it, Aaron was charged as an adult with 2 counts of murder, one for Brianna and one for baby Aurora.